Hello and welcome to another info video from GIGSANDGUITARS.com. My name is Greg and I'm going to talk to you about channel doubling. Channel doubling is one of the most valuable and useful tools in mixing and console management, no question. If you're not using this technique, you're missing out on some really cool stuff. So let's get right to it. I have my Behringer X32 digital console set up and ready to go. I am plugged in to channel 15 with a Shure SM58. We're going to be using channels 15 and 16 for this demonstration. The first thing I'm going to do is the digital patch. On the X32, we're going to Home, page over to Config, and we're going to tell channel 16 to see input source 15. Enter. Now you can see signal, an identical signal, in fact, on both channels. And now we have total and independent control of both, which is amazing. Every time I see both of those lights light up, I get the chills because I know what I can do with it. So let's go ahead and take a listen. As I'm talking to you, I'm going to roll in the second channel. Hey 1 2, hey 1 2, hey 1 2. It's bigger, thicker, and there is definitely more clarity. The way I run these channels generally is this is 15 will be my primary and wet channel, meaning it has effects. 16, the second channel, will be the dry channel, and it's used to slide it in and out as needed. Example, there is a big difference between the singing voice and the speaking voice. Big difference. It's very common for a vocalist to belt out a big signal for you, and when they go to speak between songs, it's just not there. In which case, you roll it in so that everything they sing and or speak or say, it's all big, and you can understand every word. There are never any phasing issues because we have only one input source. The only time you have phasing issues is when there are multiple input sources. Example, like with the kick drum that has an inside and an outside mic. You may want to run the inside mic out of phase, depending on the room and the conditions, all that. Never a problem with phasing when you have only one input source. Okay, let's put some effects on this. We're going to take the dry channel out, and you can see I just don't have the signal that I had with it in. There it is. Now it's gone. So let's put some effect on that. Here comes some reverb. Okay, that's a nice, tasty reverb, and there's quite a bit of it. But if you want more signal to go with that reverb, a dry signal, then we're going to roll in our dry channel and listen to what happens. You still have that same amount of reverb, you just have much more signal to work with. And you can also EQ these very differently, as I have done here. Not tremendously different. In this case, I usually run, let me pull that verb back out. I'll run the dry channel a little thicker. The high pass here is about 100. The high pass on the wet channel is about 150 or 160. About where you would expect a male vocal to be on the wet channel, and a little lower and a little thicker on the dry channel, because that's what you're using it for, is a little bit more signal and a little bit thicker. Of course, you can do that any way you want. Then once you're used to this and comfortable with doing the channel double, you'll be able to personalize it just the way you want it. Here's another example. Let's throw a delay in there. I pulled the dry channel out. Of course, I don't have the signal that I had before. Now we're going to throw in the delay. The delay. Now let's roll in our dry channel and listen to it. The delay. The delay. The delay. Same amount of delay, just more signal. And you can't quite make that happen if you're running these your effects post fader on these channels. It's not quite the same. To have that kind of individual control where your effects are being triggered by one channel and you have a dry signal on the second channel, what you can do with that is pretty amazing. Another thing you can do as well is most of the digital consoles have a time alignment delay, not an effect delay, time alignment. And I've already set one up here. We're going to take a listen. The second channel, or the dry channel, I'm going to delay it 20 milliseconds. Hello? 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 There you have it. Let's take that down from 20, take it a little bit lower. Here's a 3 millisecond. Now you're into the chorus flanger kind of area. You can hear it distinctly. Now that's just an option. Whether or not you want to use it, of course, is up to you. I'm going to roll it back up to 20. Hey, 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 and then turn it off. Now we're back to no output delay. Very cool function. What I'll also use the wet dry thing for as well is, personally, I don't care for chorus being in with my reverb. I don't like it as a multi-effect, nor do I care for it as one channel is triggering chorus and reverb. So I'll put the chorus, if I'm using it, on the dry channel, and here's what we have. Hey, 1, 2, yeah, 1, 2. Now, I have the speed on that chorus set up a little bit more than I care for, just for demonstration purposes so we can all hear it. But I'll put the chorus here and the verb here, and the separation and clarity is significant. Let's put a little bit of that reverb back on our wet channel, and now you have this. And again, the options are incredible, what you can do with it. Okay, let's pull all that back out. Now I'm going to get the camera in a little bit closer and show you some other really cool examples of where this will help you. Okay, now we're going to go over a couple of other very effective uses for the channel double. As you can see, channel 17 and channel 18 are both snare drum. Channel 18 is set up for a cross stick. It's gained up quite a bit as compared to snare 1, and it has a big shimmery reverb on it. When the drummer goes to the cross stick, just light that up instead of paging through your console to set it up as you go, or while you're trying to mix the first 5, 6 bars of the song, and then he goes to the cross stick. It's already done. Just unmute and you're ready to go. You can mute the first one if you like, but generally with a snare drum, I'll leave them both open and run them at about those levels, give or take. Next example, flute and harp. You have a utility player that plays several instruments. This utility player is playing the flute and the harp on the same microphone. And of course, they are so vastly different that can be catastrophic. Monitor levels on the harp will, if it's set up for a flute and someone hits the mic with a harp, you'll kill everybody. You'll toast everything. It'll be awful. Anyways, the compressions will be different, the EQs will be different, the verbs will be different. Set it up ahead of time, just the way it is. When they go to the harp, mute the flute, open up the harp. Back and forth, mute the harp, open up the flute. There you have it. Okay, this channel doubling technique is extremely valuable in monitor world. Works just the same. You've got that vocalist that you just can't get enough out there to them. Double the channel and you'll have all you need and then some. You can even do the EQ them slightly different, all that. Just options are unlimited. In this case, what you're seeing there is I'm doing monitors from front of house. This is my lead vocal, and there are 3 channels. I have my wet, my dry, and one is just for monitor. Okay, they're all seeing input 21, so all 3 channels are seeing the same identical input. But this allows me to do my wet, dry, 2 vocal thing in front of house, and then 1 channel just for monitors. Because what happens when you're doing monitors from front of house is you can't really chase the channel strip because that's your front of house. you're kind of stuck with your front of house EQ in monitor world. So then you end up going to the 31 band graph and you chop it all to pieces to where everything else in that mix kind of starts sounding awful. So set up 3 channels, and I do this frequently. In fact, all of the recordings that you will hear on the music page on GIGSANDGUITARS.com, there is channel doubling across the board on all of those recordings. More uses. MC. Anytime you're doing a talking head thing, gosh, double the channel. EQ them just a little differently. Use the thicker channel to slide it in. Even if your MC is a professional, seasoned public speaker, inevitably they will invite someone up who's going to give something away or make a presentation, and this person is not a professional public speaker. You'll need that second channel. That's where your beef is going to come from. Comedians, ventriloquists, all that. I'll give you a really good example. Worked with Jeff Dunham, Ahmed the Dead Terrorist. Oh gosh. I was doing monitors for Jeff, and the front of house engineer at Soundcheck just couldn't get enough out of his vocal, and I could hear that 2.5, 3K trying to get away, and I went up and suggested doing the channel double. He did not. Well, we had 15,000 people for the show that night, and guess what happened? He wanted more, he didn't have more. I could hear him, I could hear that 2.5, 3K feedback rolling around, and I could sense that he was going for his graph and trying to fix it and trying to get more level. It just wasn't there. All he had to do was a channel double, and he would have had all he wanted, all he needed, and then some. So anyways, there you have it. Channel doubling. You got to do it, guys. It's an amazing thing. It'll solve a lot of your problems. It'll make you'll be so happy with it, I guarantee. I also want to mention that I've been using this technique for years. I've always carried Y cables. So when you're analog, you can still do the same thing. The only limitation being the number of channels on your console. Now you may not be able to double as many channels, but still, to be able to double your lead vocal or your kick drum if you don't have channels to do 2 lines, very, very useful. Carry these with you. So digital or analog, you can still double channels, and it's just as effective. Channel doubling, use it. Any questions? Contact me, GIGSANDGUITARS.com.
Day after day I'm more confused, yet I look for the sun through the pouring rain. You know that's a game that I hate to lose.